They say marriage is built on trust. But what happens when that trust vanishes overnight, along with your husband? At 8 months pregnant, I thought my biggest worry would be swollen feet and hospital bills. Instead, I woke up alone, blindsided by betrayal that cut deeper than I ever expected. What would you do if your partner disappeared without a word? That morning started like any other. The baby was kicking like crazy, little reminders that life was about to change forever. I reached across the bed to nudge my husband, Tyler, but all I found was cold sheets. At first, I thought maybe he was in the bathroom or grabbing coffee, but as the minutes ticked by, something felt off. His phone was gone, his overnight bag too, and the car wasn't in the driveway. No note, no text, just silence. My heart began pounding in my chest, and not just from pregnancy hormones. I tried calling him, straight to voicemail. I texted, asking where he was, if everything was okay, if he needed me to come get him. Nothing. After 2 hours, I was pacing the living room, barely able to breathe. I called his sister, his best friend, even his office. No one knew anything. For a moment, the terrifying thought crossed my mind. Had something happened to him? Had he gotten into an accident? Or worse? When the phone finally rang almost 6 hours later, I nearly dropped it from shaking. Tyler's voice was calm, almost casual. He said he'd flown to Florida because his mom, who's been battling a chronic illness for years, was not doing well, and he wanted to be there just in case this was it. No warning, no heads up. No chance for me to say, okay, go, but let me at least get someone to stay with me. I'm 8 months pregnant, for crying out loud. I can't even bend over to put my own shoes on anymore, and he just left me? Alone? Wait, I asked, still trying to make sense of it. When did you even decide this? How could you just get up and leave like that without telling me anything? His answer was so nonchalant it made my stomach churn. I didn't want to wake you. I figured you'd understand. Well, understand? I stood in our kitchen, the same one where we'd had late-night talks about baby names and nursery colors, and I felt like the floor had cracked open beneath me. He didn't want to wake me, so instead he woke me up to full-blown panic and 6 hours of fear. It wasn't just the betrayal of being left alone that gutted me. It was the assumption. The assumption that I'd be fine, that my needs didn't matter, that it was okay to disappear and I'd somehow just accept it. Who does that to their pregnant wife? And more importantly, why didn't I deserve to know the truth? As I stood there, still clutching the phone to my ear, I couldn't help but wonder, what else was he capable of keeping from me? If Tyler could vanish without a word now, right before our child was born, what kind of partner or father was he really planning to be? The baby kicked again, stronger this time, like they could sense the tension flooding my body. And right then I realized this wasn't just about where Tyler had gone, and it was about the line he'd crossed, the one that separated a mistake from a betrayal. Have you ever been blindsided by someone you thought you could count on? Because in that moment, I wasn't just scared, I was starting to feel something else entirely. Anger. After hanging up, I sat on the edge of the couch, staring at the wall like it might give me answers Tyler couldn't. The rage was building, but it had nowhere to go. My hands trembled, not from fear anymore, but from the shock of how disposable I suddenly felt. He left me like it was nothing, as if I was just some roommate who wouldn't notice he'd disappeared across the country. Later that evening, after some deep breathing and way too many Google searches for how to calm down while pregnant without punching a wall, I decided to check our baby fund account. Tyler and I had been religious about saving for months. Every extra dollar from birthdays, side gigs, even cash gifts from family went into that pot. It wasn't just money to us, it was peace of mind, security, a little cushion for the sleepless nights and the hospital bills we knew were coming. We were so proud when we hit $12,000. I even printed out a screenshot and stuck it on the fridge like a vision board. And just like that, it was down to $7,700. My stomach turned. I refreshed the screen, hoping it was some glitch. But there it was, plain as day. A $4 to $30 flight to Miami, a $960 hotel charge, a $208 rental car, several transactions labeled dinner, Seabreeze Grill, family meal, Luigi's, and one just called Mom's Emergency Needs. Altogether, it totaled over $4,300. Gone. From our baby fund. Gone without a conversation, without permission, without even a goddamn text. How could he think that was okay? How did I needed to be with my mom justify draining money meant for diapers and formula? I called him again, hands shaking. When he answered, he sounded tired, like he was the one carrying a whole other human inside him. I told him I saw the charges and asked, how could you spend that kind of money without talking to me first? He sighed like I was being unreasonable and said, I didn't think it mattered. It was an emergency and it's my mom. You would have done the same if it was your family. That was the moment something in me snapped. No, I said quietly. I would have had the decency to tell my husband I was leaving the damn state. And I sure as hell wouldn't empty out the money we saved for our child without even warning you. He got defensive fast, accusing me of being cold and heartless. What if she dies, he said. You wouldn't even let me say goodbye. That's when the words came out before I could stop them. Honestly, at this point, I hope she does die, so you finally understand what it's like to lose someone who actually deserved your honesty. The silence on the other end was deafening. Do I regret saying that? Maybe, but do I regret feeling it? Not for 1 second. Because in that moment, it wasn't about his mom, it was about how invisible he made me feel. Like I was some afterthought to his personal drama, not the woman carrying his child, sitting at home, trying to hold it all together while he played the grieving son on vacation. Why is it that when men abandon their responsibilities in the name of family, they get praised for being emotional, but when women get angry, we're labeled cruel? Tyler hung up. No apology, no explanation, just silence. And me? I sat there staring at the empty fridge and the shrinking baby fun, wondering how we went from building a future together to living in separate worlds. Would you forgive something like that? Because I wasn't sure I could. The next morning, I woke up feeling hollow, like all the anger and fear from the day before had burned out and left only ash. The baby was stretching again, little arms or legs poking against my ribs like they were asking, is everything okay out there? I wanted to tell them yes. I wanted to whisper that mommy and daddy just had a fight and it would pass, like all storms do. But I couldn't lie, not even to the tiny person growing inside me. By noon, the text started rolling in. Not from Tyler. No, he was still radio silent, but from his sisters, Maddie and Rachel. Maddie's message came first. I don't know what you said to him, but he's devastated. He flew across the country to say goodbye to mom and you wished her dead? What kind of person says that? I didn't respond, not yet. I didn't have the energy to defend myself to people who had no idea what it felt like to be left behind like yesterday's mail. Rachel's message followed. You crossed a line. That woman is dying. You should be ashamed of yourself. Shame. Funny how that word has a way of sticking in your chest like a splinter. The kind you keep running your finger over again and again, even though it hurts. Was I cruel? Maybe. Did I mean every word? No. But when you're 8 months pregnant, stranded, and feel completely abandoned by the person who's supposed to have your back, emotions stop playing nice. Words become weapons, and pain becomes louder than reason. Still, hearing it from his family, the judgment, the disgust, cut deeper than I expected. I'd always made an effort with them. Holidays, birthdays, hospital visits. I was the one who encouraged Tyler to call more, to visit when he could. And now, with one angry sentence, I was the villain. But what really stung was the phone call from my own mother later that night. She'd heard about it from Maddie because of course she had. Everyone talks, especially when drama is thick in the air. Her voice was gentle, but there was that disappointed edge only moms can wield. Honey, she said, I know you're hurt, but saying something like that, it's not you, it's not the daughter I raised. I wanted to scream. Then where was the son-in-law you welcomed into this family? The one who left me stranded and used our baby's money to take himself on a guilt trip? But I didn't. I just sat there silent, my throat tight. My mom wasn't wrong. It wasn't like me. But neither was this life I was suddenly living. Why do people expect women to always be composed? To always be the bigger person, even when they're the one bleeding emotionally? I'd spent months sacrificing my body, my sleep, my career plans, all to build a life with Tyler. And now I was being scolded like a child for reaching my breaking point. At what point does compassion stop being grace and start becoming self-betrayal? No one was calling to ask how I was doing. No one checked if I had food in the house or if I could even get to the doctor alone now. It was all about him, his feelings, his grief, his mother. But what about me? Who stands up for the woman left behind? I lay in bed that night, one hand on my belly, wondering if this was the beginning of the end, or if it was already over and I just hadn't admitted it yet. And more than that, was I willing to raise a child in a home where trust could be broken so easily? By the third day, Tyler finally came home. No call ahead, no apology text, just the sound of keys in the lock and the door creaking open like this was just another Tuesday. I was sitting at the kitchen table, sorting through baby shower gifts, tiny socks, pastel onesies, a stuffed giraffe I already knew would become our child's favorite. It was supposed to be a happy moment, but the second I heard his footsteps, my entire body stiffened like I'd been caught in a storm with no shelter. He walked in like a man returning from war, disheveled, drained, looking for pity, but I didn't have any left. "Hey," he said, setting his bag down. His eyes barely met mine. I didn't answer right away, just stared at him, wondering how we got here. This wasn't the man I married. That man held my hair back during morning sickness. He danced with me in the kitchen when we found out we were having a baby. He used to ask me how I felt at the end of each long day. Now he came back with tired eyes and a bruised ego, expecting what exactly? Forgiveness? Gratitude? "You look like you've had a rough time," I said quietly. "Must have been hard. Having dinner with your family on the beach while I was here, wondering if you'd ever come back." His jaw tightened. "I told you it was a family emergency." "And I told you," I said, my voice rising slightly, "I'm your family too. So is this baby, or did we stop counting?" That hit. I saw it land. "I didn't know how to tell you," he admitted, finally looking me in the eyes. "I knew you'd be upset, and I didn't want to fight." I let out a laugh that felt more like a release of months of disappointment. "So you avoided a fight by disappearing, spending thousands of dollars from our baby's savings, and ignoring me for nearly a full day? Great plan." He rubbed the back of his neck, frustrated. "I didn't think you'd react like this." "Really? After everything we'd been through, he still didn't know me?" "Here's the thing. I didn't need perfection. I never did. I needed honesty. A phone call. A meeting. Hey, this is happening and I need to go, but let's figure this out together." A partner, not someone who made decisions for both of us without even a conversation. "Do you even get why I'm hurt?" I asked. "Or are you just mad that I said something ugly because I was pushed too far?" He stayed quiet. Maybe that was his answer. What would you do if your partner proved they couldn't be counted on when it mattered most? How do you rebuild trust when the foundation was cracked without your consent? I looked around the room. The baby things, the stroller still in the box, the bassinet I was supposed to assemble with him last weekend. This wasn't just a fight. This was a warning sign. So I laid it out plainly. You want to be in this kid's life? You want to fix this? Then you better start showing up. And that doesn't mean flying off to Florida and returning when it's convenient. It means being here. Really here. He nodded slowly. "I want to fix it." But wanting and doing are two very different things. And I wasn't sure which version of Tyler I'd married anymore. So I said one more thing before walking past him into the nursery. "Then prove it." Because if he couldn't, I'd already started imagining a life where I raised this child on my own. And for the first time, that idea didn't scare me as much as it used to. The nursery was quiet except for the soft hum of the fan. I stood there for a long time, one hand resting on my belly, the other brushing along the edge of the crib we'd picked out together months ago. Back when things felt solid, when we still used words like us and forever, like they meant something. I heard Tyler moving around the kitchen, opening cabinets, maybe trying to make coffee or pretend things were normal. But there was no going back to normal. That version of us didn't exist anymore. He had burned the bridge that led there, and I wasn't sure I wanted to rebuild it. Later that evening, he tried again. He sat across from me on the couch, his hands clasped, eyes down. The same hands I once held during late-night walks and early ultrasound appointments. Now they just looked unsure, like he wasn't sure if he even belonged in the picture anymore. "I'm sorry," he said quietly, "for everything." I nodded but stayed quiet, letting him sit in that silence for once, letting him feel the weight of what he'd done, rather than rushing to make him feel better, like I'd always done before. "I didn't handle it right," he continued. "I should have talked to you. I shouldn't have touched that money. I panicked." And there it was again. I panicked, but I didn't have the luxury of panic. I didn't get to run away. I didn't get to disappear. I stayed. I carried this baby physically and emotionally every single day. Even when I was exhausted, even when I was scared, even when I was alone. "Do you know what it felt like?" I finally asked. "To wake up and find out you were gone? To think something happened to you, and then to find out you chose to leave without saying a word while I was 8 months pregnant?" His eyes filled with tears, but I didn't stop. "And then to check our account and see that you used money meant for this baby to fly across the country for a goodbye dinner and beachfront hotel. Tyler, I get that you love your mom, I really do, but you didn't just go say goodbye. You abandoned us to do it." He looked crushed. Maybe he should have, but something about seeing him like that didn't bring me satisfaction. It just brought a sad kind of clarity. I realized I had been carrying more than just our child. I'd been carrying our relationship too, and I was tired. So I told him as gently but firmly as I could, "I don't know if we're going to make it through this, but I do know one thing. You don't get to disappear again. Not physically, not emotionally. You want to be a father? Then show up. Start now, start here." He asked what that meant. I told him we were going to draw boundaries. No more shared accounts, not until trust could be rebuilt. No more decisions without both of us in the room. And therapy, lots of it. It wasn't a threat, it was survival. Because being a mom meant more than just loving this baby. It meant creating a safe, stable world for them. And if Tyler wanted to be part of that world, he had to prove he belonged in it. Would you give someone another chance after that kind of betrayal? Or would you choose peace over partnership? I don't have all the answers yet, but I do know this. I may have been shattered for a moment, but I am not broken. And for the first time, I'm building a future not around someone else's choices, but my own. What would you do if the person you trusted most walked away when you needed them the most? Would you forgive, or would you walk away for good? I've shared my truth, raw and unfiltered, because somewhere out there, someone might be feeling the same. If this story moved you, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. It lets me know I'm not alone, that someone out there hears me. Your support means more than you know. And if you've ever faced a moment like this, share your thoughts in the comments. I'm listening. We're in this together.